It's been almost a year since I discussed one of my favorite pilots, so I decided it was time to discuss another. The one that came to mind was another critically acclaimed television show, The O.C. Airing on Fox, The O.C. is one of the most influential teen television shows, and the themes and techniques used in this pilot can be found in a lot of teen shows that came after. The O.C. took inspiration from other teen shows like Freaks and Geeks and My So-Called Life. The concept of The O.C. has the main character, Ryan Atwood, move from Chino to The O.C. after he gets kicked out of his house by his mother. Ryan ends up calling his lawyer and asking to live with him when he has no place to go. Josh Schwartz has said that the inspiration for The O.C. came from his experiences when he went to USC, and how he felt like an outsider as an East Coast kid living on the West Coast. Therefore, The O.C. is an example of a show having an auteur in Josh Schwartz, with Schwartz having a specific style that expresses a distinct vision. Schwartz was also one of the youngest showrunners to head his own show, doing so at 26. With The O.C. pilot premiering on August 5th, 2003, it encompasses the vibes of summer. Let's get into the artistic masterpiece that is The O.C. pilot. The main cast of The O.C. had young, relatively unknown actors, with Ben McKenzie playing Ryan Atwood, Adam Brody as Seth Cohen, Rachel Bilson as Summer Roberts, and Misha Barton as Marissa Cooper. The parents were made up of more notable actors such as Tate Donovan playing Jimmy Cooper, Peter Gallagher playing Sandy Cohen, and Kelly Rowan playing Kirsten Cohen. Here's a clip from The O.C. Obsessed Completely as some of the cast talk about their experience getting cast.
My first audition for this show was for the character of Ryan, and I read it and I was like, wow, I'm not this guy, but whatever.
When Adam Brody auditioned, I hated the guy when he first came in. He came in and I didn't know if he was doing our audition or the audition for, Navy NCIS. It was total improv. And he finished, I was like, what was that? I never want to see that guy again, get him out of here. And then we couldn't find Seth Cohen. Our casting director, Patrick Rush, said, well, what about this guy, Adam Brody?
I went back in to see Josh and I read for Seth.
He learned his lines and he was Seth Cohen. I mean, it was so great, it was so obvious.
Who are you?
Whoever you want me to be.
When we first saw Ben McKenzie, he was sort of like standing on the corner, he was brooding, he was smoking. All good things for the audition, by the way. He wasn't exactly what we had in mind in terms of the look for Ryan Atwood.
I met these guys and exchanged about 5 words with Josh. I think he thought I was a total jerk.
He didn't say 2 words to us before. He said less after.
I had to do the outdoor scene, who are you, whoever you want me to be, very James Dean-esque.
I stole a car. Crashed it.
With Marissa's character, Misha was already cast, but she, I guess, was in New York. Thanks for coming out to help me. I did a horrible first read, and I don't know why they cast me.
It wasn't what we expected for the character, but it felt really real.
I remember I was so happy when I saw you, because I really did think, I read it, I'm like, I know who they're gonna cast. They're gonna cast like a 6'4" model who can't act, and it's just like, I'm Ryan, and I was so happy when I met him, and he was this like kind of Matt Damon-esque, kind of short. Not good looking at all. Right.
Just a kind of a little bit of a reinvention of the character, but at the same time, exactly what we were looking for.
You're Cohen now. Welcome to a life of insecurity and paralyzing self-doubt.
In the past few years, like other popular television shows of its time, podcasts have sprouted where cast members talk about their time on the show. In 2021, Welcome to the O.C. Bitch, a podcast hosted by Rachel Bilson and Melinda Clark, premiered with its first guest being none other than Josh Schwartz. Podcast episodes are hit or miss, really depending on the episodes that they're covering and or the guests. However, there were some fascinating insights in the first episode. I cannot include the audio itself, but I'll link the podcast below. First, Josh Schwartz talks about how the show's production went rather quickly, with pitching the idea in the fall, starting to film in the spring, and the show airing in the summer. He also mentioned that he listened to Honey and Moon by Joseph Arthur while writing the pilot, which was included in the actual episode. Premiere begins with action as his brother steals a car with our protagonist Ryan, and have a car chase with the police. Usually television pilots ease into tension or excitement, perhaps beginning with a monologue to introduce our protagonist. The sounds of sirens are heard within the first few minutes. In The O.C., A Critical Understanding by Lori Bindig and Dr. Andrea Bergstrom, it says, furthermore, the opening sequence of the pilot, which involves a fast-paced car chase that ends in a car crash, is also unusual for the genre. In the DVD commentary for this episode, creator Josh Schwartz explains, "I think this opening sequence was so gritty. It doesn't feel like a glamorous teen show." Stephanie Schwartz also notes, "People thought it was a cop show. People had no idea." Like the use of the handheld camera and breaking the 180-degree rule, in this scene, the camera work also seems to make an attempt at consciously breaking the aesthetic conventions of daytime soaps and traditional teen television. The pilot episode is viewed through Ryan's eyes. Therefore, this makes the audience observe the subtleties of the new environment. Ryan's cautious with what he says, letting other characters talk more than him. One example is the first meeting with Sandy Cohen, his attorney. Sandy's talking the most, while Ryan avoids his eyes, mostly looking down, giving short answers. At one point, Ryan has a monologue where Sandy asks if he has plans for the future, and he talks about how Social Security is going to run out in 2025, so he's probably going to work till he's 80. Therefore, he has all the time in the world to figure out what he wants to do with his life, which Sandy laughs at. This scene is rather humorous, while also revealing the difference in class between the two, with Ryan not thinking much about his future. Ryan and Marissa's meeting is different from Sandy's. First, Ryan is actually making eye contact with Marissa compared to Sandy. He's noticeably intrigued by her and is a great example of acting with eyes. Benjamin's eyes are displaying his various emotions, widening with interest at Marissa, and having a bit of comedy when he doesn't tell her right away why he's in town. They also smoke together, which was difficult to have happen on screen with rules against smoking cigarettes, and was the only time you see this happen throughout the entire show's run. Through his initial interactions with Sandy and Marissa, he's mostly being sarcastic in his answers, but is more honest, even if she doesn't think so, with Marissa. Seth and Ryan's relationship is one that has paved the way for other male friendships in teen shows. Seth meets Ryan and they bond over playing video games, and he takes him on his boat. Seth is shown throughout the pilot to not have any friends, sitting at the angry kids table at the fundraiser because he knows the kids through giving sailing lessons. Seth and Ryan's friendship definitely set the stage for Scott and Stiles from Teen Wolf, with having one be the brooding hero type while the other is more of the sarcastic geek. Ryan's perspective is important, and while he has times where he's the spectacle, he would much rather fade into the background. For example, his first interaction with Summer has her invite him to a party. He barely says anything, emoting with his eyes that he's interested and just kind of nods. After getting the invite, he goes to Seth and tells him about the party. Before this scene, he witnesses Jimmy acting weird in the bathroom, sees Luke, Marissa's boyfriend's hand on a girl at the party, and Marissa getting dropped off at her doorstep by her friends. While at the party, there's chaotic scenes of the beach, drugs, and sex. At the party, Summer hits on Ryan, and Seth, very upset, exposes that Ryan isn't their cousin from Boston or Seattle, but actually from Chino. Despite this, Ryan helps Seth when he gets picked on later at the party, leading to one of the most popular lines from the show said by Luke, "Welcome to the OC, bitch." Fun fact, this line wasn't originally in the first pilot script. When Marissa gets dropped outside of her house, Ryan spots her and carries her to the Coens' pool house. This is a visual we see more than once. Ryan carrying Marissa. We see it in the Tijuana episode where she takes a bunch of pills, and the season 3 finale when she dies. Marissa was the main female lead, and her character resonated with her young audience. She seemed unsure of her path and who she was, even as she was surrounded by friends and family. Ryan and Marissa, and honestly a lot of teen shows, have a romance that might be reminiscent of Romeo and Juliet. Two people that are destined to be together come from different backgrounds, but different circumstances drive them apart. However, nothing will stand in their way to be together until someone meets a tragic fate. The episode ends when Ryan goes back to Chino, as his stay was only supposed to be for a few days. He arrives in Chino to find his mother has left. Thinking back to the beginning of the episode, Ryan's future is uncertain as he's standing in his old house. When Sandy walks in, he tells him, "Let's go," and takes him away from the house, closing the door on his chapter in Chino and opening a new one in the OC. To close out this discussion on the pilot, the cast talked about the first scene they filmed on the OC Obsessed Completely.
Go home, geek.
My first day was about a year ago, and it's freezing, and it was that night, and there was a fight scene. I had no dialogue, I just got beat up, so it sucked. And that was my first day, so it was a night shoot, getting punched. It's all right. It was fun.
And this is how it's done in Orange County.
The first day I showed up, I met Peter Gallagher for the first time, and we did the scene where I come back to my house and my mom has left. So my first day was some very crucial scenes with Peter Gallagher, someone I had always looked up to as an actor, and I was really absolutely petrified. I guess looking back on it, I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, it was like, get ready, kid, here it comes, you know?
The pilot is visually appealing. There is some stunning cinematography, and even some of the character angles differentiate itself from pilots you've seen before. The OC has a distinct vision and look, with a variety of camera work, being more experimental, which you don't really see in pilots. For example, the scene in the bathroom with Jimmy has the camera overhead, capturing how trapped Jimmy feels. The stall in the bathroom captures the lingering concern he has of everyone finding out his financial woes, the pressure mounting. Another example was the sunrise shot with Marissa. There was more than just standard close-ups or medium shots. There was long shots, overhead shots to express this setting of the OC. In the OC, A Critical Understanding, it says, "Though many primetime programs use long shots as establishing shots in order to set the scene at the beginning of an episode or after a commercial break, the OC pilot uses long shots within a scene, not just at the beginning. One reason the pilot may utilize this type of camera work could be that much of the pilot was shot on location. Nevertheless, the use of long shots lends a cinematic quality to the show by emphasizing the locale, as many epic films do." Nowadays, it's normal for teen stars to reach stardom quickly, especially with social media. But in the early 2000s, the success that they were experiencing was unique.
Fox threw a big viewing party there, and the cast would come and watch the show with fans. And no one really wanted to go to it because no one expected anyone to come, because we didn't even know if anyone was watching the show. We got out and there was, I think, 1,000 people there.
It was the first time that you really saw live how powerful this thing can be.
We had been on the air that night a month and a half. A month and a half. It's weird how quick TV works.
I remember pulling up and I look over and I'm like, what's going on over there? What's that for? And she's like, that's where you're going. It was like an enormous crowd and I was like, holy beep.
Because it's just a ride, it's just a ride, no need to run.
An incredible group of people showed up, everything from kids about 8 or obviously teenagers to adults, their parents who watched the show with them.
I hear from mothers who say, you know what, my daughter's a teenager now and she can barely stand to be in the room with me, but the one thing we always do is we watch the show.
It's just a ride, it's just a ride, don't be scared, don't hide your eyes.
In a year, it's gone from living on the floor of a friend's apartment, driving a car I bought for $500, to people watching all over the world.
I just think that the stars sort of aligned. We just got really lucky.
There's a real sense of looking forward to coming to work every day, and then couple with that, and you're stopping at a stoplight, and the people next to you, oh my, we love the show, oh, is Marissa gonna be all right?
It's honestly the greatest thing I could ever hope for.
I've never been involved in anything that had that many people that passionate about it.
How are people treating you now that the OC is such a big hit?
They're fantastic.
You're on the cover of Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah, I love that.
Right?
It's my favorite magazine.
Is it odd seeing yourself everywhere?
It's weird. It's really weird because you'll do something on the weekend and then you'll read about it in Us Weekly the next week, and it's foreign. It's a foreign concept, but it's cool, and I love that cover. It's weird. It's probably not healthy how much I've looked at it and how much I like it. Yeah, no, because I love that magazine, and just being on the covers is kind of, I don't want to sound cheesy, but it's sort of a dream come true in a way.
Wow.
And
sensitive crowd tonight.
Yeah.
Weren't you on a golf course recently and you got mobbed?
Sort of. We were filming in Huntington Beach, and yeah, very good. A little bit. It was good. It's whatever.
What did they do?
They didn't, whatever, autographs and the pictures and the whatnot and the handshakes and it's weird because you're kind of like Santa Claus and you get hugs.
Yeah.
It's weird, you'll have 8 girls come up and go, can I get a hug, can I get a hug? And you just feel weird and you're like, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another auteur we see in teen dramas is Sam Levinson, otherwise known as the writer, creator, and director of Euphoria. Sam Levinson has said that Rue is loosely based on his experiences, which brings up an interesting question about the role of an auteur in a teen drama. These shows seem to be more relatable to its audience, coming from a voice that understands their struggles, and there's something particular about having an auteur in a teen show, with Josh seeing himself through Seth Cohen. Both use those characters to reflect their morals and values. Now, the OC is more of a teen soap, while Euphoria is more of a raw, sometimes explicit teen drama, being more similar to Skins UK and Canada's Degrassi. Andrew Sarris wrote about auteur theory in 1962 with, "The first premise of the theory is that auteurs must be competent film directors. The second premise is that they create visual works expressing the distinguishable personality of the director, rather than mass-produced works having formulaic plots." He says that, over a group of works, the auteur exhibits certain recurrent characteristics of style, which serves as his signature. The third premise is that the film is imbued with interior meaning, expressing the tension between author's personality or biography and the material. He says that interior meaning expresses the elan of the soul. Which, to sum up, Sam and Josh are able to make their mark through their unique perspective of the teen experience, if that's through the differing camera work or the storylines themselves. While writing from their own personal experiences, they're still able to attract their own audience. However, as much as both are visionaries in the teen drama, their techniques can lead to a show's downfall. The show can feel like it's run out of ideas, becoming formulaic and/or the work feeling stuck in the adolescent setting. The character is frozen in time. As a result, the show will become a shell of its former self. How the OC utilized music is vividly talked about when referring to the show. Music wasn't a stranger to teen shows, with Beverly Hills 90210 using songs from popular artists from the time. Some of the songs came directly from Josh Schwartz's iPod and from Stephanie Savage, one of the show's producers. The music supervisor, Alexandra Patsavas, would not come to the show until the 8th episode. The song selection is one of the most important parts of the OC, which was utilized with having indie bands play. The first song the audience hears is the theme song California by Phantom Planet. The song plays when Ryan's getting kicked out and is figuring out where he can go. Other songs in the pilot were Sweet Honey by Slightly Stupid, All Around the World by Cooler Kids, Swing Swing by the All American Rejects, Hands Up by the Black Eyed Peas, I'm a Player by the KG, Into Dust by Maisie Starr, Honey in the Moon by Joseph Arthur, Let It Roll by Maximum Roach, and Show Me by Sean Payne. My personal favorites are Sweet Honey, which plays when Ryan and Seth are out sailing, Swing Swing, which plays when they're going to the party, and Honey and Moon, which plays at the end of the episode as Ryan heads back to Chino. All the songs in the pilot perfectly encompass the events, from moving to a new place, to trying to have fun in a new environment, to having to leave. Alexandra Patsavas did not only do the music on the OC, but also Gossip Girl, Twilight, and Hunger Games Catching Fire. She has moved on to be the music supervisor in Netflix productions like Bridgerton. In an Entertainment Weekly article, when choosing a song, she says, I start with the sound. The first step is a creative conversation with the showrunner about how does music fit into a story. Then a lot of music would go back and forth. It's one thing to talk about music, it's another thing to listen to really understand. Sometimes songs were scripted from the beginning, but if not, I would spend a lot of time with footage of the scene and just keep trying things. For me, the instrumentation and the feel of the song has to work first, and then I move into how the lyrics support the storytelling. Music was an additional character on the show, with the song being a part of the show's identity, linking certain songs to specific scenes. We hear those songs and think about those scenes and how it made us feel. Even the Pretty Little Liars music supervisor, Chris Mallory, talked about how influential the OC was in applying music. According to an article written in Pitchfork, Sinead Stubbins writes, it changed that format on television and showed that you could do things like have a song with lyrics played during a scene with dialogue. Before the OC, that was not an accepted thing. Placement on the show took bands to another level. It was impossible to separate the music from the narrative. The music acted like the Greek chorus. By the second season, bands were appearing on the OC, launching indie bands into the mainstream. According to an article written in the Washington Post, Sonia Rao writes, Take Rooney, a band named after the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and the first to ever make a guest appearance on the show. They were a favorite of Schwartz, and Marissa even asked Ryan in the second episode if he has heard of the band. 13 episodes later, the crew attends a Rooney concert, where Marissa's shady friend seems to be friends with the musicians. They just seemed quintessentially indie and also quintessentially Southern California, Patsavas says. Directly after the appearance, the band reportedly experienced a 200% increase in sales. Other still active bands used appearances at the Bait Shop, a fictional Newport beach club the characters frequented, to publicize their music. The Killers, for instance, showed up in the second season to perform Mr. Brightside, approximately a year after the song had been released, but 2 months before it climbed the music charts. To conclude, as much as characters like Ryan and Marissa were important to the OC, so was the music. The show even capitalized off how popular music was in the show by releasing soundtracks. The downfall of the OC is interesting because compared to other teen shows of the time, it didn't last nearly as long, ending after 4 seasons. To compare, one of its peers, One Tree Hill, lasted 9 seasons. The OC was at its best in the first season, the pilot being one of the best episodes in the entire show. However, with a stacked first season filled with 27 episodes, the writers simply didn't know where to go, as they had wrote most of their ideas in the first season. Luke was the main character in season 1 and appeared in the pilot, depicted as the antagonist for a lot of the season. However, he was written out by the second season, as a result of his arc worsening as the first season went along. By the end of the season, Luke is no longer a villain. Josh Schwartz has admitted that as an inexperienced showrunner, he made the mistake of writing him off, as well as Anna, a character that appears later. because the writers simply didn't know what arcs to give them. Schwartz has specifically talked about how network pressure affected the show. A new network president came in 2004, wanting to add a new character after 7 episodes had already been outlined. It led to a character being written in season 3 that was rather meaningless in the eyes of its audience. Later in the same season, a beloved character, Marissa, dies. Even though the moment is kind of beautiful and arguably one of the better episodes in a lackluster season 3, it sealed the show's fate. The season was already declining in ratings and viewership, so the end was imminent. The legacy of the OC goes outside teen shows, with reality shows like Laguna Beach and The Real Housewives of Orange County. There was this growing fascination in the materialistic lifestyle of the upper class in California. Josh Schwartz has worked on countless teen shows after the OC. But right after the OC ended, he went on to do Gossip Girl on a new network making a name for themselves, the CW, after changing the year before from UPN. Gossip Girl shared a similar theme from the OC with depicting the lives of the wealthy as the audience follows Manhattan's elite and their experiences. While not nearly as good as the OC, remains a classic, which is why I made a whole video talking about Nate Archibald, so that should tell you everything you need to know. With the OC, it's hard not to think about its impact, with its quick comedic writing being something we see in teen dramas going forward, leaning into comedy as well as the theatrics.
What are you doing?
Nothing. We're just hanging out. Oh, look, it's somebody's birthday. I guess my invitation probably got lost in the mail.
It's my friend Summer's birthday.
Summer's birthday's not till Wednesday.
You guys are up to something.
Dude, what did you tell her?
I didn't tell her anything. Maybe black turtleneck in August tipped her off.
Okay, I was going for stealth, and also it's slimming.
Ryan and Marissa are your star-crossed lovers. Their romance ends tragically, but their tropes could be seen in other couples such as Scott and Allison and Serena and Dan. Summer becomes a fan-favorite character and encompasses the HBIC, which was similar to Mean Girls in the decade on teen shows, like Blair Waldorf, Santana Lopez, and Brooke Davis, and in shows appearing in the present, like Maddie Perez. The OC represents the found family trope, as the Coens bringing Ryan in changes the family dynamic. Nowadays in teen shows, you won't only see family by blood, but also family by choice. So, all's this to say, if you haven't watched the OC at this point, you should, because even if you haven't seen it, there are aspects your favorite teen show probably got from it.